Hello, fellow builders, and welcome to the first video of 2024. Yeah, I know, we're like 2.5 weeks to January. I had a lot of time off during the holidays, and I was kicking videos out, and then right after the new year, had to get back to work. And let's not forget the Arctic blast, because it got cold and it snowed. But even with all that, still had to put on the old hoodie and come down and get some things done. Made a little bit of infrastructure changes in here. I had the table sitting over here where it came out from the counter. Problem with that was it was taking up a little bit too much room in the middle of the floor, because I like having this open space. If I wanted to have some people over, I could put a table there and have a multi-group build if we ever decided to do Model Building Sunday over here, or if I wanted to do maybe some in-studio interviews, live interviews, I could do it. I have that room. Or I'm not going to stop building models, so I'm going to need the display space. So I'm thinking maybe some low shelves, possibly. The possibilities are endless. But the other thing that really got me going is the fact that it is mid-January, which means I got 6 months to get it together for Wonderfest, and I really need to get moving. And I had no idea what I was going to do for my cosplay this year. I wanted to do something a little bit different. And so, and I always try and stay with the good guys. I just like, the good guys kind of suit my personality for the most part. I like doing the Jedi. I like doing, the clone troopers, the Mandalorians. Just at the end of the day, I can see myself really not ever doing a stormtrooper or a Moff. And then there's Moff Gideon. And I'm like, if you're gonna do a bad guy, that would be the one to do. So, hunted around for a file because of the chest piece. I was thinking, well, how am I gonna do the chest piece? I was thinking, well, I could do it in foam, but my foam skills, I'm not sure, because there are a lot of complex angles in that chest piece. And so I'm like, somebody's got to have done a 3D file. Lo and behold, they have. And I downloaded it and started printing it. The thing is, so the upside for me is I wanted the front piece to be in resin. The reason being, with the resin, I know I can get a nice, shiny gloss black on top of that. With the foam, I've had some situations where if it flexes and moves, you start to get a little bit of wrinkles, and I want it to be nice and solid. I want to go knock knock, almost like a bulletproof vest. Okay. My one concern is the fact that maybe I'm broader in the chest and it might seem a little bit small, so I might need to do a little bit of modification to it. But for the most part, I'm thinking, okay, have the front part in resin, have the back part in PLA filament. Having the back piece done in filament means I got to get the old CR10S up and running again, which it's been 6 months. It's about time to get that thing up and running. And the problem I was having was that I could not get my prints to stick to the bed. And I fought it. I had bought one of those flexible bed covers, the magnetic ones, and there's nothing I could do to get it sticky again, so I'm like, okay, I'm just going to go back to the glass. The other thing I did, it doesn't have, the CR10S does not have auto leveling, so, and they're a little bit vague about the distance between the print head and the bed. I always heard it was just like about the thickness of a piece of paper. Well, I wanted to be a little bit more precise than that. And so I actually went out and had a feeler. I went and got a feeler gauge, and I did it. Stand by. For the sake of you who may not know what a feeler gauge is. Feeler gauge is one of these little tools right here. And you've got all these little pieces of metal. And they're all different thicknesses. Typically used to... My first experience with them was when I had to get the gap on my spark plugs when I was changing the spark plugs in the car. And I think that's typically most people's first experience with a feeler gauge. And so it's got millimeters marked on here, and I went to 0.254 is what I used. And basically get your... The downside with the CR10S, and keeping in mind the CR10S is an older printer, you should be able to upgrade it to the auto leveling, add the auto leveling kit to it. I think I tried, but my motherboard, I didn't have the proper motherboard to it, and by the time I bought all that stuff, I could have bought a new printer. But it's still a good printer. You just has to take patience, because you remember, it's not a replicator, it's a printer. So you're going to have errors. You're going to have problems. Good. You're going to have problems. And more problems. But if it's all set up right, if you can get that bed, that first layer to stick down, pretty much everything will run like clockwork. And so basically you get your nozzle to position 1, put the feeler gauge in there, get it to touch, pull it out, and that way, you get it in there. I'm like, okay, and do all your points and start it running. And once I got that first layer, I had to adjust the way I was sitting the print on the print bed a little bit to make sure I had a nice, good, wide enough footprint to where it wouldn't pull up or come off. It printed. It was going. And matter of fact, it's done. So let's go pull that piece off. And here we have it. What they've done with the file, they've done the pieces of the back in quarters. And so you can see, I'll put a picture up like right here so you can see what I'm talking about. But the problem, I printed it like this. So I had a nice, flat, wide surface. It printed well. It's lightweight. I love it. The problem I see with this, it took 3 days for this to print. Resin parts usually only take 10 to 12 hours to print, so there's the significance with that. But I wanted to make sure with the first print, with having the CR10 back up, that I was going to give it every opportunity to print properly. If I have my desires filled, I'm going to print it upright like this and eliminate a lot of this infill. This is all unusable. Maybe print it like at an angle. So my goal is to get this printed with as little waste as possible. And I just feel like all that is just waste. But the upside is the CR10S is up and running. So we're going to get that file. We're going to get the next piece done. I think I'll go on ahead and do the other side. So I feel like I'm accomplishing something and having the entire back done. And I can fit it to my back if I need to go in there. If I need to go in and make it a little bit wider, I can do that. Matter of fact, that's kind of what this piece was. This was my attempt to... So, see, that's how that lines up. So, I can save this piece in case I need to make it a little bit wider. At least up to that point, come across and make it a little bit wider. So, we're going to hold on to this piece just in case. Just in case. So that leads us into the front piece, the resin piece. Like I said, the upside is it's easier for me to get that printed and glossed, a high gloss to it. But there were issues with the front piece in resin too. So with the front, all right, that's what I want. But I was having issues with the way it printed. It did not print all the way. I don't know if it adhered to the bed, but it didn't print completely. I had it at a different angle. So I had to print it again. So the second print, like it printed at an angle like that, right? Well, the next print, that's all I got. It didn't grab anything. So we got a third print going. So check this out. Well, this is the left breastplate, and I've had some issues in the printing. Don't know why it did this. Now, I could use this. It's cool looking. It really is. And I could use it as battle damage. That might be an incentive to leave it. But I do want to get a little bit of putty on here just to cover up some of this stuff. Normally I use the glazing putty, but I think I'm going to try. I picked up this Tamiya putty to use on a different model. It's such a small tube, but figure it's a better quality putty than this Bondo. At the end of the day, that's what I want. So I'm going to try it out on some of these lighter striations here. For all I know, a little bit goes a long way. I'm using a little piece of plastic to spread the putty. I'm going to go out and get a better spreading tool, but I couldn't wait. I'm not a very patient person at times, especially when it comes to model building. So I went on ahead and on the bigger parts with the bigger holes and gaps, I used the 3M Bondo. Waited the following day, and I'm giving it a good sand. And it's coming out pretty good, but it still needs another coat. Remember how I was saying I was having problems with the 3D printing? I wasn't lying. Found another one. Just did not print out. Oh, well, okay. This was kind of my fault. I remember what happened with this one. I ran out of resin, and for some reason, and maybe I'm just jaded because I have a micro center in town, and for pretty much all my 3D printing needs, I can just drive over to the micro center and pick up another roll of filament or pick up another bottle of resin. Well, they haven't had resin since before Thanksgiving, and I'm not sure what's going on there. The website even said they had like 4 bottles, and I went and double checked and found an associate and said, "Can you make sure?" Didn't have it. So I'm at a standstill kind of with the resin part because I ordered some off Amazon, and it's not even supposed to be here until tomorrow. Dead in the water there. Got to get the other back piece going on the 3D printer, which is going to take at least 24 hours, a day and a half to get printed in the new orientation. And I need to go get the sanding on the other piece. It came out pretty well, but it needs another skim coat, I think, on top of it. And when I hand sand, it's working okay, but I want to try my DA sander. I've got a orbital sander because I really want that to come out really nice and smooth. And I'm just really practicing on it because I'd like to glue the chest pieces together and do one nice solid. Yeah, I really can't do anything until I get the other piece printed, and because I don't want it to be different levels. That's a lot. Okay. So, while that's going, I also want to talk about this is the hard goods. I still need to do the Darksaber, figure out what to do with that. Now, I have a Darksaber blade, and it's supposed to be for it's a replacement blade for the I think the Galaxy Edge one, and I thought I could just hook it up to I was gonna make my own lightsaber. I got an Arduino, and I was gonna. That didn't go so well, and I've not been able to get this blade to light up. I think there's an issue with the connection here at the end, because I did finally get another. I got a lightsaber core, all right, and I used alligator clips and connected to the pins and tried to get this to light up, and I couldn't get it to light up that way. So I think there might be an issue with the connections here in the top. So I'm going to have to take this end apart, see if I can see where the wires are, and maybe just have wires protrude out of here to connect them to my lightsaber cord. But that means I need to get that part. There is a potential that I have to cut this in half and take the LEDs in here out, possibly, and replace them. And I still have to do the hilt. And I already actually started on my own Darksaber hilt to fit a core. But that had its issues too. There's a lot to be done. And this is all the hard goods. I haven't even started talking about the soft goods. So for the soft goods, i.e. the uniform, I found some gloves. The gloves are basically they're airsoft gloves, the gun, the paintball gloves. So that's what those are. I've got those coming. They were only $10, free shipping. And we also have to deal with our nemesis, the sewing machine, because I'm going to sew the tunic. And the way it's kind of like a pullover. If you look at Moff Gideon's uniform, he's got the high neck collar. So it can't be the normal Moff thing, because the normal Moff thing, it's got like the side breast that flaps open, and it's not that. So I found a pattern that I'm going to use, and I'm going to have to modify. And even at that, he's got the red piping down each arm and each leg. So I need to get that stuff ordered. And then there's the cape. I'm pretty sure I already have a pattern for the cape with my Jedi stuff, so I need to go dig that out. So now you're starting to see where this 6 month window I have is slowly. I have to be on time, on task. I need to get on it. It's one of those things where there's no time to waste. Gotta boom, 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 get stuff done. So that's where we are. Wow, that's a lot. That's a lot. And let's not forget the fact that there's also the models that I want to take with me to Wonderfest to put in the contest, which I don't know what I'm going to build for that. So the next 6 months is going to be full. Well, there's no reason for me to be sitting back and going, oh, I don't have anything to do. I have to be organized. But that is why I put a whiteboard on the back of that door, right? So we're going to be organized, and we're going to get this thing together. Now, I know it's still January, and we're going to use that. We're going to use that energy. We've got the time. We just have to be on task. Everything's going to work out. So, what are you building? What have you got going for 2024? What are you going to go build? Because it's time for you to go build something. Don't be like me. Don't wait till the last. It's not the last minute. It's really not. But even though you have your challenges and your failures, don't let that discourage you. Don't let that put you off task. Just take it one step at a time. Just go, okay, that's done. I can't do anything about it. Next. And that's what we're going to do. So, until next time, have fun, be safe, go build something, and let's get this done. Pew, 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 pew.